I'm not that sophisticated. So hi everybody, my name's Dan Pickett. I run a small consultancy called Enlight Solutions. I'm D Pickett on Twitter, and I also run a small startup called Textront.com. And basically, the idea of it is to allow patrons to get on to restaurant waiting lists using their mobile devices. So I had this interesting problem of supporting all these different mobile devices, and I was like, I don't want to learn all these frameworks in all these languages, right? I mean, I could go and learn BlackBerry stuff, which I had no interest in doing. Android was actually semi-tolerable, and iPhone was similarly very tolerable, but I didn't want to learn all these frameworks and have to stay up to date and everything. And in case you don't know what seppuku means, you should check out this awesome movie. So rather than dealing with all of those frameworks, I just decided, all right, we're going to go mobile web, because that's what the cool kids do. So basically, JQuery Mobile really leverages the power of HTML5. What you get is a real easy way to just mark up a mobile website using just HTML5 and jQuery. And in case you didn't know, jQuery is pretty awesome, and John Rezzig's the man. So if you put those two together, HTML5 and jQuery, you get awesome Square. So basically, I made the decision that we're going to put the platform on the mobile web with jQuery Mobile. And it was a really cool and awesome experience. So how did we get it working with Rails? Well, there's a neat tool called Mobile Foo. And you just put this before filter in your application controller and set your request format. Mobile Foo is on the GitHub. You put this in your initializer that basically just tells Rails that there's a mobile format. And then you reboot your server, and then you can do stuff like this. So application.mobile.erb will only render for mobile devices, which is really sweet. So essentially you can have the same controller logic and everything for both your web-based, in front of a computer sort of architecture, and your mobile architecture. So it really does take advantage of a lot of the RESTful aspects of Rails, which is really neat. So we have a series of controllers and HTML views that share a lot of logic and functionality that our mobile application does. So this was a huge, huge win for us. So basically, just to take you through what you need to get going with jQuery Mobile. You have the normal Rails 3 header type stuff, but you also just include the style sheet for jQuery Mobile, and you have this little init function here. There are some defaults that I didn't like, so I turned them off. And you just include the JavaScript. And if you ask, where do I get jQuery Mobile? Well, that's on the GitHubs too. So then what you're able to do further down in the application layout is this is a mobile page. So you just define the look and feel of the page with HTML. There's no JavaScript here. There's no magic. Well, there's JavaScript magic happening, but you don't have to worry about it. But this is how we basically began our patron application. So this is just the only code in our application mobile layout. So you see the yield here. This is where the action content is going to actually render. So you see the data role attributes, and that's what tells jQuery Mobile what pieces of the puzzle you're sort of filling in. So this is an action. So you put those two together, and again, see the data roles. You put those two together, and you get a really nice, clean presentation from jQuery Mobile. It works out very well. You can get really, really fancy with this stuff, and again, this is just an HTML form. So again, no jQuery magic. I did a neat little widget, but other than that, no JavaScript here on this page. So my overall experience, and I'm just going quick because it's sort of a lightning talk, but my overall experience is that I really, really like this framework. It's built on web standards. It's built by a very demonstrated, capable team. I mean, the jQuery guys are just rock stars. They're really awesome. And it's the platform's jQuery based, and I don't have to learn horrible frameworks. So the jQuery Mobile is currently in alpha, so there are some things you should know about it. Definitely check out the documentation, and it's kind of nice because the documentation is itself, in and of itself, a demo of the capability of jQuery Mobile. So it's a really neat way to document the project. It's really cool the way they did it. So some of my learnings was, it's still a very young framework. So it's got a pretty heavy footprint, so the size of the JS is hefty. The API is not only undocumented, but it's still very much in flux. So if you do have to do any kind of JavaScript customization, you're going to have to read a lot of source code. And the other thing we found is we're sort of pigeonholed into a certain look and feel. You know, you can change colors and stuff like that, but for the most part, you're sort of adopting a visual framework, so you just have to be cognizant of that. Another thing we're looking into is, you know, to get listed in some of the app stores. Right now, they're sort of working some of the kinks out with jQuery Mobile and this technology, PhoneGap, which basically allows you to compartmentalize your application and list it on the Android and Apple App Store. So, oh yeah, and that's on GitHub too. So that's it. Any questions? Brian?
What limitations does some jQuery Mobile that I want to be able to get within writing native code?
So you don't have as much access to some of the native functions of the device. Naturally, it's JavaScript, so you're not going to be able to access the front-facing camera or some things like that. But what is really cool is you can actually get access to the accelerometer. So the default behavior is when you tilt your device, it will actually adjust your layout. You can actually, there's hooks from a JavaScript standpoint that you can attach to and handle accordingly. One neat thing for the Textron iPad application, where hosts and hostesses are basically filling in people's information, we have a series of JavaScript swipe events, so like you can swipe from the waitlist to the form and do neat things like that. So you're limited, but I don't think you're limited in as poorly a fashion as you might think. So it's totally, I recommend looking into some of the JavaScript hooks that you get.
What about GPS data?
No.
You don't get GPS data? That's available for HTML. Like JavaScript has access to GPS data.
There's no API support for it, so I don't know if there's an easy hook or what, but it's not something that's documented in the framework.
Have you gotten live with it?
Yeah, we have. We're piloting at Fire and Ice in Boston actually, and feedback has been awesome. So we've got them on a wireless iPad, and that's going well. And then we open up the patron side of the application for all of our clients, so they can go in. If you actually go to textron.com on your mobile device, you'll see the very beta version of the application, but it's functional and it's quite nice.
Do all those forms you listed support HTML5?
Great question. So pretty much, yeah. There's a great compatibility matrix on jQuery Mobile. So there are certain OS versions of BlackBerry don't. It degrades okay. I wouldn't say it degrades especially great. Oh, where's my mouse? Well, sorry, I don't know where my mouse is.
Behind you.
We can see it.
Where's my ring? I'm so discombobulated. Alright. So this is the jQuery mobile site, and then if you hit this platforms, there's a great compatibility matrix right here. that gives you a good overview of all the devices. And these guys are hardcore testing. I mean, you saw the picture that I opened with. That was actually from the JQuery blog. Like, all the manufacturers are actually donating devices to the cause because they want a cohesive mobile framework. So it's really neat that way. But yeah, what's that?
Even Apple?
Yeah, I think Apple sent along some hardware. Not anything pre-release, of course.
What about testing frameworks?
Well, that's the big gap, and honestly, that's where I'm a little bit worried. Is right now I don't feel very comfortable in the sense that we don't have Cucumber automation around a lot of this stuff. It's pretty heavy JavaScript and things like that. I know there's some headless functionality with some libraries out there, but I haven't had the time to dabble in it yet. But it's definitely something that's high on my priority list. Dan?
I was actually going to promote that as a huge feature, is that you just use Cucumber with the headless browser, Catalyst. So if you look at github.com/.bot/dddd, you'll see the site we built that is open source and uses JQuery and Mobile. It's testing with Cucumber and Catalyst. It's very straightforward. It's exactly the same testing style that we use in a web app. And because of that, you can develop the exact same process that you would in a normal designer-developer relationship, where your designers are designing the site, they're creating HTML and CSS, and they never touch JavaScript. And it looks great, and it's full of human functions for them. And they hand it over to the Rails developer who will write his Cucumber scenarios, and it's going to run the full JavaScript framework, and it works pretty well. It's exactly the same process.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the markup. It is straight up HTML. So if you programmatically just trick your Cucumber browser into thinking that it's a mobile device, to get past that mobile food before filter that I showed, you should be able to exercise it that way. I do a little bit of that, but I still don't feel like I have a real strong sense that it's functioning the way that I want, because when you think about integration testing, you want to make sure that you're exercising as much as possible. And yeah, sure, I'm sure it gracefully degrades, but I'm not positive that when you mix in the framework, the presentation, the look and feel, and just everything from an integration standpoint is working the way that you expect it to. It's really just it doesn't matter because you're functionally testing the application, but it bothers me to know that I'm not really exercising the coupling to the JQ Mobile functionality. So, any other questions? Cool.